When I look back over this semester, I feel like the biggest way that I've improved as a writer has been my ability to recognize that writing is not something that I just do. It's something that influences my thinking and my processes and every part of who I am as a person. And I feel like at the beginning of this course, I thought that good writing just came on the first try. And through all our major assignments we did, and through reading Habits of a Creative Mind, I learned that that's actually not true, and that you actually become a better writer from having questions about what you're reading and being confused and really not knowing where to start, and that is what helps you grow as an individual. And I feel like two chapters that really stood out to me from Habits of a Creative Mind were Pay Attention and Embracing Difficulty. Pay Attention really helped me notice the small details in my writing or something that I was reading, any kind of contradictions or biases that I had going into an assignment, and maybe even tensions that could hide within the topics that I was reading. And I feel like I really used to rush through things when I read them, or even assignments, but reading this chapter really helped me slow down and focus on what was important. And this was especially important for me as I was working on my inquiry essay, because that was an assignment where I could not just try and summarize my sources. I had to actively understand what I was thinking and why. And the second chapter, Embrace Difficulty, had an even bigger impact on me. It helped reframe struggle as something that was normal. I feel like I struggle a lot with getting in my head and thinking that if something is difficult for me, then it isn't difficult for anyone else, but that isn't the case, and that there's nothing wrong with you for finding something difficult on the first try. And this idea really directly connected with Anna Lamott's Shitty First Draft reading that we did, which really focused on and argued that every single writer, no matter how great they are, starts with a messy and chaotic draft. And hearing that was really freeing for me, and it made me realize that my own writing doesn't have to be perfect right away. And I feel like the first major assignment that really changed the way that I thought was the inquiry essay, as I mentioned above. And I feel like at first I just thought that it was another research paper that I was doing, but it helped push me to develop my own questions and my curiosity. And instead of trying to sound academic, I had to be able to genuinely follow a question and try to respond to the ideas of others. And that's where the Pay Attention chapter really came to mind, because I had to look for contradictions or surprising ideas that could be in my own writing when I was trying to reframe it, instead of just repeating what was previously said. And I feel like that also connected with Carol's Backpacks versus Briefcases article, which helped explain how we make rhetorical judgments every day without realizing it. So something that I drew out a little sketch of this. It's supposed to be a teacher talking to two kids, and the teacher on the top is wearing a Gucci shirt. And the kids are saying, she's really cool because she's rich. She's going to be a great teacher, just because they can think that money defines success. And then the teacher on the bottom is wearing a shirt that says, Goodwill rocks. And the kids are saying, why do we have someone unsuccessful teaching us? That doesn't make any sense. And the other kid is saying, that beats me. Because I feel like a lot of times we value success monetarily, and it's really easy to just assume things about information that we're consuming on the first try. And I feel like the second major assignment that really shaped me was the multi-module project, because that made me yet again reframe my mindset and be able to write to a different target audience. And having to create something that was visual in the form of a TED Talk really helped me think about the way that I framed my writing to be able to sound more like a TED Talk. And it really pushed me into the mindset that's described in Embrace Difficulty. It was challenging to do this because I have never said anything like a TED Talk before, and it was hard for me putting that assignment together. But instead of giving up, I just decided to follow the mindsets from the habits that difficulty is part of learning. There's a part of a video that I watched outside of class that is called The Power of Believing That You Can Improve, and it's by Carol Dweck, and it's a TED Talk, and she has a little clip on just having a growth mindset, which I really appreciated.
They understood that their abilities could be developed. They had what I call a growth mindset. But
that to me really resonated with me because I feel like I struggled to have a growth mindset going into this assignment, but specifically writing and creating a multi-module project forced me to develop a growth mindset. And one source that helped me recognize habits that I wanted to avoid was the Shitty First Drafts article, because while it teaches writers to embrace imperfect beginnings, it also made me realize how often I can kind of shut down because I expect myself to write something perfect on the first try. I know that perfectionism is something I need to avoid now. And Lamet described how writers freeze up when they're trying to write as if someone's already judging them. And I feel like that's me, and that's something that I still need to work on when I find something challenging. So, to conclude, I feel like looking ahead, the habits that I learned from this class, especially paying attention and embracing difficulty, drafting freely, and thinking more rhetorically about situations are things that I want to carry into future courses and into my life outside of school, honestly. And I feel like I've already noticed an impact in other classes that I'm taking. I feel like I'm reading more actively. I feel like I'm asking better questions to my professors. And I feel like I'm less afraid of not doing well the first time I try something. I think more carefully about rhetorical choices and the way that I think about the people around me just when I'm walking around campus and I see people. And these are all things that I learned from Carol, and they're from the habits that we practiced in this course. I feel like overall my philosophy about writing has changed dramatically. I used to think writing meant proving I was smart. Now I see writing as a process of becoming curious, thoughtful, and someone who thinks through ideas instead of rushing past them. Writing isn't about perfection anymore. It's about exploration. Thank you.